Well, good afternoon and welcome back to Scrapbook Your Legacy with Carrie. And thank you for watching my videos. It's fun to read the comments and interact with you on that. So thank you very much for watching and commenting. I appreciate that. Today we are going to be doing another travel layout, and I have here 8x10 photos. This is actually of the Flatirons in Boulder, Colorado. And this was our warm-up hike to go into Rocky Mountain National Park and hike at a higher elevation. So this was warm-up day. And so today we're just going to be talking about how to do a layout with larger format photos. It's a simple layout, but sometimes I got this idea actually because I used to have, back when Creative Memories wasn't so much a thing, I had to find other places to get albums done. And I had kind of taken a break. So I was actually having my albums made through Shutterfly. And, when you do a Shutterfly album, you can have a photo take up one whole page. And so I was like, well, why can't I do that in a big album? And so that's what I started doing. There are certain photos I get done as 8x10s for my albums. So I'm going to go ahead and bring in my mats and my papers. I'm going to show you what we're doing today. And some of my inspiration today came from, believe it or not, the show Alone. Please comment below if you watch that. I'm watching it on Netflix, and I'm watching the current season they have on Netflix. And I'm getting so much inspiration from their aerial views of the landscape and the colors that are in there. And so that's why you're seeing some of this orchid on here, which is a new color for Creative Memories. I do use Creative Memories products. I use some others too. I'm not so closed off to the community, but that is mostly what I work in. But if you want to do this, please use your items. I do have some things here that are not Creative Memories, mainly these die cut wood looking pieces. So anyway, all right, let me make sense of this mess here. And then we'll get going with this. But yes, so I was saying I get my inspiration from Alone, and in this season, I have to pay more attention to the other seasons. But they show the aerial view of the area where they are, and the colors were incredible. So you see like the wheat color, you see like this orchid color or an eggplant color, grays and just different shades of green. So these photos are going to shift around a little bit. I am just going to center them. And one thing I did is, Creative Memories a lot of times, and I'm sure other companies get these photorealistic papers, right? So this is moss covered bark. And what I did is I cut my mountain punch here with it to create texture on the mountains. So it looks kind of like mossy rock. So that's going to be on one side. And I'm layering punches today. This is the pine tree punch. So I'm going to be layering that in front and trying to bring in some other colors. It is mostly tonal, but then I did decide to bring in some brown. Now, this is the hot fudge brown. I'm sorry that the lighting is probably a little dark. It might be better on camera, but it's a rainy day here in sunny South Carolina, I'm just going to say. So just kind of dealing with that. So I'm trying to, this is kind of, we're heading up the trail, and then I have a smaller picture of the trail here looking out over the valley area. Denver's this way. So this is looking north of Denver. Well, this is, I guess, what they call the Front Range. But anyway, this is the path we were going up. And then I like to layer my photos sometimes. So we're going to be layering that like that. And then, so these are the two punches, and I can't remember the names. I can go look up the boxes, but Creative Memories had several mountain punches, and this is the one that I have. And then this is the pine tree. So I wanted to use a different pine tree for this. I was tempted to use the same one that I've been punching out for a while. But I'm changing it up a little bit. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to cut some more. I need 2 more pieces. So here's that mossy bark. And I'm just going to go ahead and cut it real fast and get this layout going. I'm going to do some stamping. And if you're not familiar with these punches, they have a little line right here, and that's where you want to line your paper up, and then you line the design up on this. All right, so we're just going to go ahead and punch it out. And I'm going to move along quickly because if you're familiar with this, it moves along quickly, but you can see how I'm going to just line up that silhouette outline on the punch base and just go along. I never move quickly. Some people are able to move very quickly. I never move quickly because I'm afraid I'm going to mess up, but you can't really mess this up, but I always feel like, oh, it needs to be perfect. It needs to be just right. I think that's, yep, that's it. All right, so easy peasy. And then we're just gonna, got my little trash, my little cute pink trash bucket. I don't even remember where I got that from. All right, so we'll put that away. And then I'm gonna bring in the pine tree punch. And same thing, it's got a black line to line up. That's right, that's my starting point. And then I'm just gonna go along and line up the trees as I go with the silhouette. All right, so one large, one small. That's what we're gonna do. Keep that lined up there. One large, one small. So you kind of see how it goes. And if you hear my dog whining, I'm sorry. She is in a state and having a rough time of it. And she's just in her little season, and then she'll get through her season and she's going to be spayed. So that is what's going on. So if you hear her complaining, she's just not a happy camper. All right, so those two have been punched, and I'm just going to cut them. Now I lined them up, and I'm hoping I get them lined up the same way again, because I cut them both together. So we're just going to go with it and be okay with it. And I'm just going to get them all mushed up against that. There we go. Okay, I think that looks good. Good enough. All right, and we're done with that. So layering punches today and working with large format photos. So let me know, have you used 8x10s? Do you like to get 8x10s when you're doing a travel album? And then I've got this, so I have the brown to bring in. I felt like I needed a little more color and some depth, so I've got some brown for either side, but I'm also thinking about bringing in, you can probably hear the rain, one of these logs and just cutting it down the center. That's still an option. I'm thinking about it just for a little more texture. All right, so here we go. But yeah, let me know, have you used large format photos? Do you like to do that with travel albums? All right, so these are 8x10. So I want to come up about half. I want some room at the top for some embellishments. So come down to 2 and 10. I think we could do that. Make sure it's straight. It's a little larger than 2 and 10. So my first mat, this beige color, is 1/8 inch larger. So it's 8 1/8 by 10 1/8. And then this orchid color or plum color is an 1/8 inch larger than that. So then we go up to 8 1/4 by 10 1/4. All right, so that's what those are. And then these brown strips are each 1/4 inch. And then I have some gingham paper that I'm bringing in as well to kind of come across the center. So what I want to do is get these photos down first, then we're going to talk about how we're going to fill out this page. So it's a little larger. All right, let's get this going. But yes, have you been to the Flatirons in Boulder, Colorado? Have you hiked them at all? They're fun to hike, especially on a clear day. And we had great weather for hiking. And there's a little more of a story to this that ties into Rocky Mountain National Park as far as how our hiking went. But it was good to get out there. We saw a deer, and then my son is part of a rock climbing gym, and so he wanted to try to do some rock climbing, but I think he got a little nervous and did not want to just go alone out there without his crew. So, but he has been outside doing that since we've been out in Colorado. So you'll see pictures of him here because I didn't have good pictures of my other son, so I only have pictures of the one. All right, so we've got that one down, and then I'm going to put this one down. But yeah, let me know. Have you hiked the Flatirons? There's a lot of trails over in there, and it's a busy park, but it's a fun park. Beautiful meadows, and right there near, you know, the downtown, it's great. I think it's Chautauqua Park, if I'm saying that right. And so we just enjoyed that area very much so. I feel like I'm pretty close right there. And I'm just eyeing it. I inked the edges of the beige, and I inked the edges of the avocado paper. Okay, there we go. All right, next we're gonna get down, I'm gonna put these down. And I'm not gonna put down this brown paper yet here, this brown strip. I wanna wait until I know really what I wanna do. So we'll make that decision in a little bit. I wanna think on it and see what I wanna do. But let me know too, if you use Creative Memory punches, do you like to layer them? Now, I don't have the Wildflower Meadow punch, but that would be another one. I had thought about the grass punch, but the grass punch that I have is just kind of chunky, and this is much more wispy. So I didn't, you know, and then the fields of wheat, the wheat fields that they have, that would also look really good with this. And you can mix those two as well. If you have them, you can mix those two to create a layered border as well. So there's options out there. So I'm layering the mountains, and you could layer the mountains with a fence. You could layer the mountains with the fields. There's plenty of options to make for an interesting border. So we're just gonna do this one because this is what I have. It's gonna be slightly different from the one on the right side because I didn't cut them exactly the same. All right, so the idea is that this is gonna go here, but I may, or at the bottom, I may do that. We're gonna wait and see, all right? So let's continue with this side. All right, so I'm gonna put this up here, and this is the path that's coming down along here. So I would turn around quite frequently and just look, but oh yeah, these grasses were blowing in the wind. And then here you have these wildflowers that are that orchid color, or that plum color. And so I felt like that was a great color to bring in. And it looks good with the rocks and just the greens. So don't be afraid to mix the colors up and get some different looks. All right, so we're gonna do that. Well, yeah, I put it down, but I think I want it over just a little bit and up a little bit. So I'm gonna have an embellishment cluster there. All right, so let's cover that one up, and we'll come over here and get these down. But yes, let me know. This is Deeper in the Woods collection again that I am trying to work through and finish this album. I'm also trying to finish this album from Colorado because my dad would like to see it, and that's important to him. When my sister and I were little, my dad and mom took us out to Colorado for the first time. We went a couple of times when we were little, and we stayed on dude ranches, and just had such a great time doing that and having great cooking. You know, you'd eat family style. So we did a lot of that. I'm just using repositionable tape, and I have a parchment paper wrapped around, 12 by 12 piece of cardboard, and that's what I use. But if you have those silicone things, those are great too. This is just my money saver thing, but I do have a little silicone mat as well. I just didn't bring it out. And I thought I had a brown piece for the other side. Oh, here it is. It's hiding. All right, so this is the idea right now. All right, so that's kind of what we're thinking. All right, well, let's get our embellishment clusters going. And I brought these logs out now. These logs are from Winter Woods, which is from like 2022. And I'm going to be bringing that up in here and connecting it over here. And then I'm going to have another one down here. So that's the idea. And then I have these. Now I might bring that in. I might bring this up a little bit and have that go out that way. And then I'm thinking about having this come out over here and just kind of creating that cluster. All right, but first let me get this little banner piece down. Let me zoom out just a little bit so you can see better. All right, so we're at 10 and 2. So if we come down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3. So I want to be in here. Okay, I kind of want to be right in there. I think that's about halfway. And I made a banner edge, and all I did was fold this in half and just cut it on a shallow banner piece. Brings a little more interest across the center of the page. We're going to have that at 6 as well. And then I'm just going to stick it down. I just kind of wanted to dry fit it a little bit. And stay straight. Don't mess up. This has to come up a little bit. Okay, so let's just dry fit that. Okay, so now we will get this under here. And I want that to come out to the edge and be about right at the 6 there. Okay, there we go. That's good. So we'll do the same on this side. That's why this repositionable adhesive is so good, because you just are able to manipulate things a little bit better. Now let's just transition that a little bit. There we go. And then what I did is I took a 1/4 inch piece of the brown and just put it on either side so that an eighth inch of it is showing. I'm gonna get tongue-tied here. And so that's what I did, just to bring some more depth to the page and a little more interest. You know, so it's not just all green, but it is more tonal. But then I have the plum. And I was thinking about adding more of that plum orchidy color. But then, you know, let me bring this over closer so I, oop, come back, don't disappear on me. There we go, just like that. All right, beautiful. All right, so I've got that side done, so now we just have to do the other. Yeah, so I was thinking about using more of it, but then it is a strong color, and I didn't want it to dominate and take over the layout, because there's only a little bit of it in the photos. It's not like there's a lot, and you see it in the rocks, in the pictures. Like, it is there in the tones of the rocks, but it's not that dominant of a color, so I just wanted to be careful. All right, so there's our banner going across. I'm going to leave these. I'm actually thinking about stamping over here. So don't be afraid to stamp. All right, chocolate or wood? You know, I'm going to do the wood. And this is what I'm going to do, is I'm just going to cut this one right, let me do it this way, right down the center is what I'm going to do. That looks to be about center. And this cutter has a great thing where you can just kind of go along and see. Let me just move it over just a little bit more. Make sure it's lined up that way. All right, and I feel like that is probably good. All right. There we go. One side might be a little bit bigger than the other, but you know what? Once it's down, might not be too obvious. All right. We have cut the wood in half. All right. So let's go ahead and put one piece down. We're just going to lay it right along the bottom here. And I think that looks good. It just brings in a little more texture, but still anchors with that color, and brings in a little more interest. All right, so that was that one. And then we'll bring in this one. That's the stickers from there. That's just one way to make your stickers last, is just to cut your 12-inch ones in half. Well, and even these logs can be cut in half, although I have not cut them in half because one of them is going to be on top. So we're going to do that just to bring in a little more interest. I'm not covering up flowers. The flowers are all over here. There's a few flowers over here, but not as many. All right, so we're going to do that. All right, so let me get this one down. And, you know, this is another way to do some stash busting. I wanted to find some logs, and I could have cut, some other stuff using, the wood papers. You can cut those to look, to make a log round as well. And I have done that. So that is a possibility that you can do, and that would look fantastic too. We're just gonna bring that down in there. Okay, it just brings a little added layer of texture. All right, let's put this one down. We're gonna commit. Yep. But yeah, hopefully, this is inspiring you to use some of your papers differently, and, just kind of coming up with some different looks. All right, there we go. So I've got that done. And I do like that log like that. All right, so every path that leads to new discoveries. I do like that. I also like wild, but this is the one I was thinking of. So I'm going to put that here, and I think I will put that up on foam squares. I don't know about you, but I have to bring order to my mess. It has been a bit messy, and it is time to bring order to it, and I just have not had a ton of time. So let me know, are you feeling that way sometimes? Like you start getting creative and your room becomes a mess, and then everything is just everywhere. You've got to get it back under control again. That's sometimes how I'm feeling, and I get it all cleaned up, and then I start on something else, and it's like a vicious cycle. All right, I do like this elevated, so I'm just going to bring that like that. And then I want to bring in some pine. Let's see, do I want to, yeah, let's do that. Let's bring that in over here. I like that. All right, so we've got plenty there. I feel like that's enough. And then up here, what was I going to do up there? I don't know. But you know what? We can I'll just bring this in a little bit. We'll do that. Have that coming out. And then all my acorns and everything are gone. Don't procrastinate on this. Well, let's see. Might be able to find something else here. We could just, we'll bring in a rock. We've got some rocks in here. We can bring that in over here. Okay, there we go. Got that. So every path leads to new discoveries. All right, so the other thing I was thinking of was inking down a sentiment, and I don't have nature is my happy place, which it is. I love being out and hiking. All right, so we've got a season stamps as well. So I'm just gonna put this down here and do that. I'm gonna season it up, and then we're gonna go right on to the photo. We're gonna do it. We're gonna commit. All right, here we go. Hopefully this ink isn't dry. All right, I hope I have enough ink. Doesn't ever look like there's enough ink on there, but here we go. All right, we're gonna make it part of this cluster, and it is on. I'm just gonna hold it for a few seconds. And there we go. It's a little smudged, but it's okay. I don't want it super dark, so we'll just let it dry. And I got Nature's My Happy Place up there. All right. And then I'm not going to do any journaling on this. I think that is the layout. Super easy peasy, but again, using large format photos. And then next week I have postcard and a card that shows the fields with the wildflowers in it, which is what you're seeing right here. And so this is the actual hike next week, which I may not do a video for that one. I might do a video for something else, but I'm showing you. That's what I'm thinking. You see all the colors there. So yeah, beautiful area out in Boulder. All right, so here is one cluster, and there is it's still drying, but there is the inking right on the photo. Does make me nervous. All right, this is not a Crave Memories product, but I like the texture. All right, you can see that berry color, and right here's that gingham that's coming across, and then you can see here how I layered that border, the mountain border with the pine tree border, and then here's that wood branch log thing. All these words. So you can see the texture, and I like that much better than the hot fudge, although I did use the hot fudge here, okay, and then with this wood piece. So it is being used around, and it is in this as well, all right? And then over here, oh, and then you can see the wildflowers right there. See, there's that berry color, that orchid color that ties into that frame. It just gives it, you know, something to stand out. Again, the same gingham, but here's this with that die cut, but then the title, okay, and then here's that wood, and then the layered. So you can see how that mossy bark makes for a really cool mountain punch. It just makes it look like, you know, moss-covered rock on the mountains. All right, so that is that layout leading into the hike that we took up in the Flatirons. I might have to see that. That's not good. Well, you know what? I will do that after the video. All right. Well, thank you for watching. Have a wonderful weekend, and comment below. Let me know how you're using large format photos, if you do, you know, stamping on it. And then also, please, you know, head on over to Facebook. It's the same thing, Scrapbook Your Legacy with Carrie. That is where I show new product, and I also put up photos of all my finished pages there, the ones from the videos, and sometimes I do others, but that's where the photos are, and you're welcome to help yourself to a photo, you know, for ideas. And then I also now have Instagram under the same name, Scrapbook Your Legacy with Carrie, and I have one reel up there that shows the leaf from last week and the pine trees that I did. About details on a page. So yeah, go give me a follow over there as well. I'd love for that. And again, the only place I push product is on Facebook, not Instagram, not here usually. So I just want you to enjoy getting your photos done and enjoy that process. So I hope you have time this weekend to do some scrapbooking and creative time. You know, I think that's just good to do. All right, well, thank you again, and take care. Have a wonderful weekend. Bye.